This is now the second longest winning streak in Islanders history.
The scene last night at Barclays, fans counting up to 10. Islanders have gone 10 straight without a loss, their best run since 1982. You heard the voice of Brendan Burke. He is a play-by-play man for the Islanders. He joins us now via the video call center from his home in Huntington. Brendan, thanks so much for joining us. What has been the key to this incredible run for the Isles?
You know, it's been the story of something different every night. They've had different goal scorer, the different game-winning goal in all 10 games, really, for the New York Islanders. And, they've developed this system that worked for them last year of playing strong, sound defensive hockey, getting good goaltending, and opportunistic scoring. They're not going to score 5, 6, 7 goals every night, but they're going to score one more than the opposition more times than not. And it's kind of been that same recipe from last year that's carried over into this year. And even when they've had to deal with injuries, which they've had a lot of during this stretch, they found a way to get it done here now 10 times in a row.
And Brendan, you know, this has been a very similar roster now over the last couple of years, but Barry Trotz is the difference in this whole thing, is he not? It's incredible how coaches can preach about, you know, defensive responsibility and in your own end and all those things, but he gets his players to buy in, and it's very obvious.
Yeah, he's a gifted individual, a gifted communicator, and I think that the way he came in, the timing he came in, remember, he comes into the Islanders a month or two after winning a Stanley Cup as the head coach of the Washington Capitals. And at the same time, the Islanders saw John Tavares walk out the door, and everybody wrote off the New York Islanders. And so you had a team that had given up more goals than anyone in the NHL, getting a new head coach, bringing in a new defensive system, who had just lost their biggest star, and it all kind of came together to Barry Trotz comes into a group that was the perfect group to accept the message. And, you know, to their credit, they all have bought in. They bought in relatively quickly last year. This team really started to get going probably around Thanksgiving last season, on their way to 103 points and, the fifth best record in the NHL and a Jennings Trophy. And, a very consistent group. You mentioned it, really not a whole lot of changes between last year and this year. And they've picked up where they've left off, and they realized that the way they had success last year is going to be the way they're going to have success this year, and they're getting it done.
Well, they got to the second round last year, but a lot of people, at least media types, wrote them off as a team that couldn't make the playoffs again this year. Why should we believe in this? It's a 10-game winning streak. I guess that's evidence enough, but it's still very early in the season. But why should we believe that this team is going to be another playoff team and maybe can take another step this year?
Yeah, I don't know why they have to keep proving themselves, to be honest with you. It seems like it was, they were in first place last year for a long time. And they're like, yeah, but let's see where they are at the All-Star break. And then, let's see where they are, come the trade deadline. And then, all right, they made the playoffs, but let's see them win a round. Oh, they won a round. All right, now let's see where they are. It's just every step of the way they've had to prove themselves. And then without changing the roster, bringing back the same team and the same coaching staff, it was, all right, let's see if you can do it again. So I'm not sure what they can actually do to prove anything to anybody other than just keep winning games.
Brendan, there was some concern potentially that without Robin Lehner, him leaving, it would really impact the Islanders' goaltending. But so far, that has not been the case, has it?
No, Varlamov's been extremely good. And, I haven't looked, but I'd be willing to bet that the Islanders are the only team in the NHL that hasn't had a goalie start back-to-back games. They have been on a strict rotation, Varlamov-Greiss every other night to start the season. And, they each have 5 of the 10 games in this winning streak, for the goalies. And, everybody, you mentioned it, were saying, Robin Lehner left, so the goaltending's not as good for the Islanders. People forget the goaltending split last year for the Islanders was 43 starts for Robin Lehner and 39 starts for Thomas Greiss. I mean, they were every other game. It wasn't structured that way, but they split the season in half pretty much. And Thomas Greiss is still there, still performing as good as anybody. And Varlamov's come in, and the Islanders have a goaltending coach in Piero Greco and a goaltending guru, if you will, and director of goaltending Mitch Korn, who has worked with a lot of very good goaltenders. That they're the ones that turn Robin Lehner's career around. Don't forget, he wasn't very good in Buffalo the year before he got to the Islanders. So I would guarantee that both Piero Greco and Mitch Korn signed off on bringing in Varlamov and said, you know what, we can do that with him too. Let's bring him on in and let's see what we can do. And so far, they have to be happy with the results.
All right, Brendan, we'll watch tomorrow night as the Islanders host Pittsburgh. Coverage begins at 6:30 on MSG+. Thanks so much for joining us. And we know that you live close to Wally and Allen, and you have survived them as neighbors, so it's all good for you right now.
We'll see you at the Winter Club. Get you on the ice.
Yeah, perfect. Looking forward to it.
You make too much noise.
Stop.
That's what he said off camera.